Hello and welcome to episode number 77 of the Hobbies and Happiness podcast, where we talk all about the hobby that makes us happy, tabletop gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Dan.
I'm Jim, and today we're going to talk with a friend of ours, Jake Boss.
All right, welcome to today's episode, everybody. Before we get into it, let's talk about our sponsor real quick. So the episode is sponsored by Amazon Audible. If you head over to our affiliate link, audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness.
I signed up.
There we go.
Signed up.
There you go. So it's always easier to just say click the link and instead of remembering what the actual link is, right? But it's audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness. Okay, that's the link. So if you follow that link, you can sign up for your free 30-day trial of Amazon's Audible service. If you like audiobooks, which I do, I was telling you the other day, get The Witcher. The Witcher series, if you've never read it, phenomenal. It's a phenomenal series. There's quite a few books. I started playing the video games. If you like the video games or you like the Netflix show, you definitely need to check out those audiobooks as well. So again, www.audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness. Sign up for your free 30-day trial today. You get a free book. That's right. You get a free book when you sign up. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you get two free credits added to your account. You can cancel before the end of the 30 days if you don't like the service, but you get to keep those credits on your account. So you can use those for any book that is on the service. Again, www.audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness. Sign up for your free 30-day trial today. All right, I'm excited. This episode is a lot of fun. We recorded it a few days ago, but I'm excited to get into it. So we talked with Jake Boss. Jake Boss is I believe his title, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's producer. He does a lot of the behind the scenes work.
Editor.
He
does a
lot of the behind the scenes work at Command Zone. So if you're into the Magic scene at all and you like Commander, you've probably heard of the channel Command Zone and the show Game Nights. So he's been there about 3 years, I think. I'm trying to remember back to the conversation.
Honestly,
now.
I'd be really surprised if the people here who play Magic did not know about the Command Zone.
Yeah.
Because not only is Commander the biggest format in Magic, this is like the biggest EDH channel in all of Magic's, I guess, content creators.
In all of YouTube, essentially, yeah. So also, Jake has a channel, DigiBoss Battle. So he has his own channel. If you're into Digimon, you need to go check out this channel. It's a phenomenal YouTube channel. It does a lot of gameplay videos as well as other types of strategy content for the card game Digimon.
Even if you're not into the card game, it is really great to see all this stuff.
It's a lot
really
of fun.
Cool.
Even if you don't know how the game is played, one of my favorite things about that channel is just the interactions and the storytelling
phenomenal.
That both of them put into that channel. Jake and I believe her name is Beck is on that channel as well. So go check that out. I'm gonna stop talking. We're gonna get out of the way so we can get you guys into the chat. So here you go.
Enjoy.
All right, today on the show, we are joined by the Jake Boss. Jake, it's awesome to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Worked really hard today, but that's the life of full-time content creator type person, plenty to do.
Absolutely. So, but before we get into everything, Jake, can you tell our audience who is Jake Boss, and can you give us your history in the TCG and just the card game space in general? Because I know you've been in this space for quite a while.
Yeah. So I first started out with tabletop gaming with Star Wars X-Wing. I loved that game. Was pretty good at it at the time. And then around the time that second edition rolled around for that game, I was getting out of it. I picked up Magic the Gathering in 2016. I'd played the Star Wars LCG before that because I was deep into Star Wars at that point. But Magic was everything that I wanted that game to be. So I fell in love with it, and I ran a Kickstarter for a life tracker device that was successful. And, we sold, I think it was 3,000 units or something. It's called Mojo. It was a fun little device. And then I met a bunch of content creators while trying to get that campaign off the ground, which is very hard. If you're a nobody trying to do a Kickstarter, my heart goes out to you. That is so hard. And then from there, I just got the bug. I was there for the community, the content, just being a part of something. I was always a part of communities and stuff growing up. And I tried doing a couple of different channels. I had one idea for a channel that never got off the ground. And then I basically reached out to the community and said, hey, I'm a professional editor. I want to work on Magic content, but what I didn't say was I don't feel like I have very good ideas. So I want to help you all execute your good ideas and make it look expensive. And that's when I was approached by Josh Lee Kwai from the Command Zone. And he's like, hey, message me. Also, nobody works for me for free. So forget that. And then we started developing what would become one of our flagship shows, Extra Turns. I just did a small amount of work on that while we were getting to know each other. And, timing wasn't quite right. I lived in Portland. I wasn't ready to move down to LA. They weren't really ready to hire somebody out of a professional position. So timing just wasn't right. So 3 months go by after that experience and I got the bug, I feel like, well, if I'm just going to sit here like Spider-Man waiting for Iron Man to get the call of like, Mr. Stark, I'm ready. I'll do whatever you want. I'll cut whatever you want, Mr. Stark. Then I'm going to go take care of myself. I'm going to go do it myself. So I started a Tonight show called MTG Tonight. We built a whole Tonight show set in my living room. We had a sparkly blue backdrop and a giant moon. And that's how we would do deck profile videos we'll interview people about their deck. And I had like live music and stuff. It was a really fun show. It was hard to make that. Super hard. So luckily, about the time that I was getting burnt out, Josh called me back and said, hey, things are ramping up here and we really got to find somebody. What do you think about for real coming down? And that was 2019 in the summer. And I've been at Command Zone ever since. It was a big leap of faith. And now I direct a lot of our stuff. I am a supervisor for a lot of our people. I get to teach people, which I love. Because if you get me, I'm sure at some point in this interview, there's going to be a lot of people skipping through because I'll talk about nerd stuff for however long you let me. Like if you want to talk about the intricacies of MP4s, I've got a lot of strong opinions about stuff that nobody cares about.
All right, so our next topic is DigiBoss Battle.
Yeah, that's
so
channel. I love working on stuff on the side. I can't help but create side projects.
Yeah.
And my current channel, DigiBoss Battle, is like, man, I'm bored at home and I'm not done working when I'm done working.
Yeah.
So let me just go develop another show in my free time.
Yeah. So there's a lot there that I really want to dig into. But first, you say talking about nerd stuff, right? It's funny because at my job today, I had my IT guy come down to my office he was probably there for like 3.5 hours. And literally all we were talking about was nerd stuff and software and how these tools that he's built is going to make our lives easier. And I'm just like, oh, dude, this is amazing. You have no idea. And there's other people in the office who are like, what? Because they can hear me like talking about all of this just nerd software, and I'm like, guys, it's okay. I know this is nerdy, but it's awesome. I was so excited. So
you don't understand. This guy over here is changing our lives right now. Like
exactly.
That's my favorite thing is when you show somebody a simple trick or something, and like they say, "Wait a second." Do that again.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so like I said, there's a lot there, right? But the first thing I kind of want to dig into a little bit is MTG Tonight. So what it sounded like was you were contacted by Josh, and then MTG Tonight happened after you initially made contact with him. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. I was, I wouldn't say I was salty or angry about it or anything, but it was just not the right time for anybody. Like I had just started a new job. At the time I was 24, which is like, if you're going to be taking shots on pulling people out of the pro scene, Like 24 feels kind of like a gamble. It's just a little young, and it just wasn't the right move at that time. But still, I sat on it and I was like, I got to do something with this emotion. And I was in a movie theater watching a documentary about Mr. Rogers with my mom and my girlfriend at the time. And there was a scene where neighbor comes over and they're washing their feet together and learning about racism. And I think, wouldn't this be great if they were talking about an Enchantress deck? Like tackling racism is really cool too. But there are other topics that I had on my mind of like, if you can use the strength of your community. Yeah. Just embracing your community and using their strengths to make you better.
Yeah, right. Well, and it's fun you say that too. This entire week, and Jim, I know you can attest to this. Since this week started, I have just been so excited for this year, and just I really feel like just passionate about what we are building, and then just the things that I want to create, and like that's where it starts. And already, I mean, what 5 minutes into this talk, I can hear and I can sense the passion, coming from your story already. And I think that is just so key. And I don't know if a lot of people really recognize or notice that. But that is awesome.
Yeah. I love seeing other folks out there who do things that they don't have to do. Like there's a need in a lot of people, like, obviously prepping for this interview is poking around your guys' channel, and you set up something that's very clearly like you're ready, like you're not checking all the boxes. What you're doing is attacking this head on because you must do it. It's like being compelled to do something rather than being tasked with something.
Right. No, absolutely. And, going through a lot of your tweet threads, there was one thing that when you were talking about MTG Tonight, there was one tweet in particular, and I hear this thrown around so many times from content creators and just creatives in general. And sometimes people think it's overhashed, but it's 100% true. What you said is creative is at the heart of everything. And a $100,000 camera is useless without a good idea. And a good idea doesn't need a $100,000 camera. I'm right there with you. And what it sounded like you were saying was, did you use like a lot of phones and just low quality equipment when you were doing MTG Tonight?
Yeah, actually, this camera right here is what would it be? 15 years old. I shot MTG Tonight on this camera, and the sensor looks great. The lens is great, but it happens to record to mini DV tapes. So I've got an HDMI out on it, and suddenly this camera is no longer a dinosaur. It makes really good stuff. But I called in every favor that I could from film school. So some friends would bring in DSLRs, but not all the time. So I spent money that I didn't have, which was $200, on a second DSLR because I had my own, and I used my phone. We got it done a lot of different ways on that show. Like I finally broke down and bought a sound device. Once my sound got screwed up for the second time, I'm like, whatever, like this is money I shouldn't be spending on something that doesn't bring in money, but I'm going to do it because I am tired of the heartbreak of losing something. So yeah, I mean, that whole thread kind of spawned from, I think it's fair to assume that the person I was subtweeting kind of knew that I was subtweeting them. Basically, someone had said, and this is not wrong, but they said, if I had good equipment, I would have the best EDH show out there. And I'm thinking like, man, if only you knew how easy it is to make bad content with good equipment. I've done a lot of it. Like our cameras, look up Alexa Mini or Alexa Mini LF. That's my daily driver. And I shoot with the best of the best stuff. I've got access to whatever equipment I want now. And still, it's hard to come up with ideas for what to do with it. Yeah, I do game nights and all this other stuff. But in film school, I had bought a bunch of equipment a year before. Okay. And then the end of my first term in film school, I finally make a movie with all that stuff. but it had sat on the shelf for 10 months. Like,
yeah,
the equipment was not stopping me from making a movie, you know? And by the time I got it was a waste. I should have been writing.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing that I've learned over the years is, yes, I know we've had a lot of comments about like our set here. You know, this is in my basement, and I built this because I love it, and I have so much fun and a passion for doing this. And all this equipment is not something that like I just went out and bought in like a weekend. This is I have accumulated all of this stuff over years, and like it's for me, it started with photography. And I'm still into photography. I love photography. Just when I went on a trip to Disney World, and I love taking pictures. So fireworks show, I have my tripod set up, taking pictures, editing them. I have so much fun, right? My wife, you know, digs at me a little bit, and she's like, "You mean you're not going to Disney World to spend time with your family and your kids? How dare you?" You know, kind of. But I'm like, well, I like taking pictures, right? Now, you know, this equipment makes certain things easier, but from what I have noticed is it all starts with that passion, and most of the time the people who are passionate will make it work with whatever the case may be. If you give a new person just the best equipment, that a lot of time, maybe not a lot of times, but can be the wrong move, because it's not about the equipment, it's about that passion and that creativity and that creative ideas.
And saying, in spite of whatever equipment I'm cursed with, I will get this done. Like,
absolutely.
There's a lot of the time that me and Josh are working on something, and I say, you know, I'll pay you $1,000 not to care about this. Basically, like, I'll try to get him to save money on something, and I'm like, and he says like, you know, we've got a little bit of a budget here. We could spend it on this if that's what we've got to do. And I'm like, dude. What if I paid you $1,000 to not care about whatever aspect it might be?
I think just what I see it as. Doing that.
Doing that. By not buying something, you're buying money. And there were so many years where my camera, like, I've got a microphone that goes to a soundboard, and then the soundboard is an RCA out to 3.5 millimeter. Then that's an aux jack into the side of the camera. And I'm pretty sure that's going to work.
Yep.
It's like being a broke-ass musician.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So you mentioned film school. So why did you go to film school? Like,
that's a good question.
And I don't ask it like in the way of, well, what did you do that for?
No, you should.
All right,
here's the deal. Folks at home, if you know somebody considering film school, okay, beat them with a stick until they're sad. Do not go to film school. Film school is a joke. A lot of the folks who are teaching in film school, God bless them, are not working. And we really want advice from people who are out there kind of like doing the thing. And, you know, that's not true for everybody. Nothing's across the board true. But the things that I picked up in film school were how to work as a team with other people, how to coordinate and get something done. And you can do that with Facebook groups. Instead of film school, you should be going to like casting Facebook groups for your local town, like Portland Casting Hub. I said on a lot of threads in there, like, hey, I want to work on projects for free. I just want to cut stuff. Who's interested? And just make up deadlines, you know? And when you're behind schedule, you're behind. Nobody cares. Nobody's paying. But I wouldn't have been able to do MTG Tonight if it weren't for all those favors that folks owed me through Casting Hub or doing their senior films and stuff like that. I didn't need to spend $50,000 on doing that. Even worse, people had to do internships in film school, and they, for some reason, let two people intern with DigiBoss Media while I was still at this school. This is not a comment on how good of a teacher I am. More about how broke-ass the Art Institute of Portland is.
Wow.
Don't go to film school. Don't go to a for-profit college. I don't care if it's cosmetology and this is the only way that they do it. Don't go to a for-profit college. And if somebody in your life is like, yeah, I'm thinking about going to college, you say, that's great. And they say film school, you say, that's not great. Don't do it. And then you send it my way.
We're gonna have to save this for people, just in case.
We're gonna clip it. We're gonna clip it right here. Actually,
so pointless. Just go out there and make stuff. Like I had all the equipment to make my movies that I made in film school before I even went, and it only cost me like $1,000 compared to 50,000.
Well, it's interesting too, because when I was graduating high school and going to college, I have an engineering degree, and so when I graduated high school, I like many high school seniors, I don't have a direction in my life, not sure what I wanted to do, but I was thinking about, like, I was very interested in the arts and photography and film school, so I had a conversation with my father, and he was like, you should not do that. He gave me some really good advice, and my dad knew my strengths, and he did what he could to try and guide me into a better direction. It's funny is, yes, I'm an engineer, I have an engineering degree, but I still, like, that's not my passion. I have passion for all this other stuff, right? But I'm making it work. And I remember back then, the overwhelming narrative that I can remember was not what you just said, right? But nowadays, like, so many people have made it and are being successful by being self-taught, and I think that's great. Like, I love that messaging as well. So, like, is that something you noticed? Like, what was it like when you started?
So when I started in film school, there was a lot of folks who wanted to make Batman 17, and they all said they want to be writer directors and stuff like that. And none of those people, as far as I'm aware, are working in their field, the one that they studied for and worked really hard to get into. Those people, as far as it's sad. Like, I wish it weren't that way, but they're not. Like, oh my God, don't go to film school. But then there were those of us who, like, I remember my entrance interview, I said, yeah, I'm a really bad camera operator right now. And I'd also like to learn about optics and how lenses actually work. Because I know, like, 13 elements and 11 groups. I know these terms, but I don't really know why this element goes here. Why is this one concave versus convex? I'd love to learn about stuff like that. None of my teachers there knew that kind of stuff. Nobody cares about that kind of stuff. Like, I was a much bigger nerd than they were prepared for. Yeah, I don't know. The film school is just so bad. The best film school that you could possibly have is waiting tables. You learn how to deal with crazy asks from psychopaths. And honestly, my first big gig was in 2016. I was working on a commercial for Overwatch. And T-Mobile, and it was like the Overwatch World Cup or something. So I did one for that and one for BlizzCon. Awesome. And I was working with 6 people behind me in couches and stuff. They flew out for a week, and they're the ones charged with making this thing perfect for the client. Like, and creatives are nuts, like, nice people, but they just say stuff like, this color has a likeness within it that I can't put my finger on. It has a what? So honestly, like, it flashes me back to working at Red Robin, and somebody says to me, "This is blue cheese," and I said, "No, that's ranch." No, I can tell it's blue cheese. And I'm like, "Okay, I'll be right back. I go get another ranch. Here we go." I hate to be a pain, but this is blue cheese. I'm like, "I'll be right back." I get my boss. "Can you please bring one out?" She does it. And then she says, "Finally. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it." And then I just catch eyes with this lady. This is my last day at Red Robin, by the way. I catch eyes and I'm like, I'm out of here. And then I wrote my letter of resignation like 20 minutes later. But
did you actually write a letter? Did you actually write a letter for Red Robin?
I wrote it on the back of, like, my sign out sheet. I said, "I can't do this anymore. I'm so sorry. It has to be today." Yeah, basically. That's funny. That job is so rough. But I'll be working on set on something, or I'll be working in an edit on something like that T-Mobile Overwatch commercial. Somebody will say something that's like, "Yeah, but that's blue cheese." Like, factually, literally, logically, no, it's not.
Yeah.
But I must work under the assumption that it is. Perception's reality. I live in your world right now, and I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make you feel like that is not blue cheese.
Yep. Yeah.
That's so funny.
I agree. Okay, so your start at game nights. Okay, you talked about it started with a tweet. I remember seeing that tweet and then just reading that, and I'm like, that's crazy, and then it's awesome. What came over you to tweet that? And what would you suggest to other people looking to get their start in a similar way that you did?
Well, for me, I feel like people who naturally gravitate themselves toward working on game nights, one way or another, find their way there. So with the case of Murph, he's working, or he's sitting across the table from Josh at a GP. He says, "Hey, I know you're looking for an editor. I know a little bit about editing." Guess what? He doesn't know a thing about editing. He's lying. But
really?
He got him in the door. Yeah. No, mad respect. He got himself in the door.
Awesome.
And he's one of the best editors that works there. He's a great director. I love working with Murph. We're partners. It's great.
You guys go back and forth on Twitter all the time, and I love it.
Yeah, no, me and Murph have a very tight, like brotherly relationship through the workplace. It's great.
Yeah.
But anyway, for somebody who's trying to follow in my footsteps, as far as the method goes, consider that I couldn't help but want to work on content. Like, I really love creating workflows for things. I like creating machines that, like, you drop the card here and then it automatically goes there, and then stuff like that.
Jake, I am like right there with you, man. You're saying all the stuff, and I'm like, yes. I love it.
I'm such a sucker for stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
same, man.
So that's how I got to, being a broadcast editor, at a pretty young age, and then taking a photo of my monitor. Like, if you're in the know, that the picture, like, that was my whole thing was, that monitor is like $40,000. Because it's a 10-minute reference monitor. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. So, the photo was kind of like, here are some color bars. So, the noobs kind of know this guy's a real one. And then for the real ones, it's like deep. Yeah.
All I saw was the color bars, and I'm like, okay, that I get. But I was the noob in that reference, actually.
So, I'm really just going to get into it, huh? I tweeted this out thinking, like, if anybody has any good ideas, whatever. I just want to, like, make stuff. I have free time and I want to make stuff. I don't really care about making money or whatever. I go home that day, and at 5:20, I know it was 5:20 because I had just gone home, and the first thing I do is like, man, that was a stressful day. I go out into my shed and rip a fat hit off of my bong. I smoked. I don't smoke anymore because, I don't have time for it.
We're demonetized, I think. I don't know.
I hate to tell you, the story's worth it, I promise. So I hit it, and then command cast followed you. Command cast, like your thing. And I'm like, oh no! I run inside, and I'm freaking out. I'm shaking, and I'm like, Ashley, look, and I can't even speak. And so I now have to navigate this as I'm going down a path.
Yeah.
It was the same thing when the professor followed me and was like, oh, I want to be on MTG Tonight, all this other stuff, like, oh my God.
Yes. Yep.
So now that we're like hanging out with actual celebrities like Post Malone, like, I feel like I've been doing, the meet the celebrity thing for a long time. Like, you guys are new to it because you're the ones that we've been meeting. But
so going off of that, that feeling, right? So what is it like when you find those big name celebrities, and like, not just like you're meeting the celebrity, right? But it's a celebrity who, honestly, Jake, like, to me, you're a celebrity, right?
Oh, really?
Because
we got to fix that.
Yeah. But seriously, like, you are in the space that I love and I enjoy, right? And we have this connection over this game that we both enjoy and we both love, right? So when you take like a celebrity, like you said, Post Malone or Jacob Bertrand or Zolo, who you find out they love and play this game that you love, and then you work on, like, what is that feeling like to to number one, find out they're into the same stuff you are, but then have that experience of meeting them and then playing that game with them.
Yeah. Post Malone for me was the big one where I was like, what are we doing here? Like, this is not supposed to be. Like, what it's like for me nowadays is different than when that first one really hit. Because I remember we were all kind of looking around at each other, like, wait a second. Did Post Malone just like hit us up in Instagram DMs? Wow. And he just sends like a clinking glasses emoji on Instagram, and it went to our spam filter. It's because it's not an approved message. And we're like, and apparently somebody had responded back, cheers. And that was it. Like, wait a second. I don't know. And then he like gets back and says, something that's like, no, pay attention. Like he didn't say that specifically, but the sentiment was like, no, this is the real deal.
Yeah, this is the real deal.
And then we start like looking through our Patreon. He'd been a patron for 7 months. Wow. And it was just under his real name, Austin Post.
Wow.
Like he'd just been right under our noses. And then we are kind of all standing around like, is this real? Is this really going on? We're kind of like texting our friends like, hey, get a load of this. Turns out Post Malone watches the show. Isn't that fun? And like, as a big Stargate fan, that's how I felt when one of the stars of Stargate watched the show, was like, get a load of this, Mom. You've heard this name. And then we're FaceTiming with him and we're all kind of like, whoa, now this is real.
Yeah.
He comes to LA the following week. And we all go to his hotel room. We plan to shoot a game night, so we go to his room the night before. And then this game night's the Modern Horizons 2 episode was just like so quickly assembled of like, this is going to be the best that we've ever done. We're going to act like this while we're on set. We're going to have a dedicated behind the scenes guy. So we partied the night before until like 4 o'clock in the morning, show up at 8 a.m. for our shoot, shoot the whole thing. Wow. And he still wants to play afterward. Like we play until 3:30 the next morning.
Nice.
Wow.
And normally on a shoot day, you're just so beat.
You're so tired. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys must have had so much adrenaline though going through your bodies.
Oh, you have no idea.
Like that. Oh yeah.
This is something that nobody knows. In the middle of that shoot, as we're all taking a bathroom break, he walks out. And there's kind of a shuffle of people. We don't really know how it happened. It doesn't matter. But we lost power to one of our extension cords, which lost power to the overhead camera, which we normally leave rolling. And if you know anything about H.264, it's time to touch H.264. Yep. You know that if you stop in the middle of a recording, it doesn't have time to wrap it up. So the file is corrupted.
Yep. And
so we lose power to the thing. And then I look up and I say, oh, shit. And then Ashlyn's being very kind, like, oh, is something wrong? Can I help you? And then the behind the scenes guy looks over and says,
she seems like she would do that too.
The behind the scenes guy looks at her as I'm like stunned, and he says he thinks that he just lost all the footage. And I'm still like, how do I handle this disaster? And then behind the scenes guy says, great day for this to happen for the first time when an A-list celebrity is here. And so I figure out like, okay, you can boot the camera in safe mode and wrap it up. But that was just such a hit of adrenaline of like, oh my God. And then rumor starts spreading throughout the house of what might have happened. And everyone's like, oh well, we can just re-record our hands, right? We can just go through the transcript of the game and reenact. And I'm like, guys, just don't worry about plan B right now. Let me focus on plan A.
Yeah.
Luckily, everything worked out and it was smooth. But
wow.
After that first couple of nights, we went to his house to shoot Roundtable. We were out at his place for 4 days in Utah. It's like a compound there. It's amazing. We drove I guess you'd call it a tour bus, or like a shuttle bus there. Mm-hmm. And we brought a bunch of equipment and stuff. So we drove from LA there. It took about, I don't know, like 11 hours or something. But then by the 4th day of that trip, we're all feeling like you're in high school again. Like you're hanging out with the boys, you're blasting music and staying out a little bit too late and walking home. And, like it was just, it made me feel like a kid again. And ever since that moment, no celebrity can make me shake. I don't care who you are. I don't care what movie you're in. You're a person just like me. And we said that, me and my partner, Ashley, she's my fiance, we said that when the professor first reached out, is I'm not going to thank this person for his time profusely. I'm not going to basically put him on a pedestal so far above me that he's out of reach, because that's not going to make him comfortable. I'm going to speak like I'm at the same table. Even if I'm not, like, let's talk as peers. And I've always approached people like that. Pretty hard to do with Post Malone. But now that we've got that under our belt, it's really easy for no Jacob Bertrand, no Joe Manganiello or anything to make me shake. The key when you're meeting somebody famous is you talk about what they did today. Like, they don't want to talk about Scooby-Doo. Okay. Yeah. Like he knows what it was like to be Shaggy. He's got pre-cooked answers for you. But how about did you find parking okay?
Right.
Or did you sleep all right? Yeah. Like these are real people things that we're all going through.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds like a very healthy way to to think about it, and just to approach everybody in general, because you're exactly right. We're all people. we deal with a lot of the same stuff each and every day. Those are some great stories, Jake. So while we're on the topic of Magic a little bit, you did speak on how you kind of got into Magic, but so you said you started with X-Wing. How did you go from X-Wing to Magic? That just seems like it seems like an interesting little fork there.
Yeah. So the manager of my game store, he was having a birthday party, and a bunch of people went to Portland. Has really fun strip clubs. So we got a group.
Honestly, this interview is just wild. This is the wildest one we've had. I'm just like over here. Okay.
So I go with a bunch of Magic players to this club, and the steak is $7, and it's a fun time for everybody. And then they start talking about like, yeah, man, and if you want to just like borrow a deck anytime, you should play Shadows over Innistrاد's coming out next week. You should play Seal. That's a really good way to get into the format.
Man, we started pretty much the same time.
April 8th, 2016.
Yeah.
So,
Jim, you talk about that year all the time when we talk about starting Magic. Yeah, Kaladesh.
Yeah,
I started a little bit before.
That's like you're there early enough to get into some of the nostalgia of pre-chaos Magic, of the before times. But yeah,
man, I missed my looter scooter.
After my first big paid gig, I went and bought 4 copies of Looter Scooter and 4 copies of Liliana.
Nice.
Then I built myself a Temur Emerge Emrakul deck. I was really proud of it. Then Emrakul gets banned, and the Smuggler's Copter gets banned, and I'm just sitting on a whole bunch of junk.
No more fun.
Yeah.
Nice. So the first experience was Magic in a strip club.
Wow.
It wasn't in a strip club, but it was a bunch of players in a strip club who convinced me to join the group.
Right.
And the ladies come over. I bet you have a large deck. 60 card, double sleeved.
It must be triple sleeved.
So how did you get into Commander then? What was your experience from starting to getting into Commander?
So I was working on marketing my Kickstarter for Mojo, and which was the life counter. And I went to GP Vegas 2017 with the same group of friends. And I was just going to be on a trip, we had planned it over a year in advance, and I was trying to live my own life. So I said yes to whatever fun experiences were out there. So I go to GP Vegas 2017, and there's a bunch of people at Commander tables and stuff. And at the time, I thought Commander was a format for people who just wanted to have a podcast and be all self-important in front of the microphone. That was such an arrogant, stupid way to look at it. Because come to find out, I'm one of those people too. But anyway, I saw Josh and Jimmy walking around with Cassius Marsh, and I thought to myself, maybe Commander ain't so bad. So I pick up a Kaneos and Tiro deck because the vendor said, "Hey, you like drawing cards?" And I said, "I think so." And so I picked that deck up for $25, and I spent 6 months kind of refining it. And then the first deck that I built myself was a Razaketh deck.
Okay.
And then from there,
one of those guys
exploded.
One of those guys.
Yeah. I was told by Josh and Jimmy on the podcast that mono black was the best mono color at the time. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do that.
That's funny. So from when you started, let's look at Magic from when you started to now. How would you compare the overall health of just Magic in general and then Commander? Because if you look at the state of the game now versus back then, it's like wildly different.
Yeah, I mean, we have choices now. So, if you think about us as coins in a sorting machine, like there are certain wells for us to drop into that we couldn't before. So personally, I play Historic Brawl on Arena a ton. But if I couldn't do that, I'd probably be back to playing Spell Table. Like Spell Table in my life was a big deal from all throughout the pandemic. I would play with my friends Craig and Dee and Pope for like a year and a half after the pandemic started. Then Historic Brawl gets added to Arena, and suddenly I care a lot less about my bro time.
Can you explain what Spell Table is for our audience that doesn't know?
Yeah, so Spell Table is a method of playing over webcam that has an integrated card recognition function and also a good scorekeeper in it. So you can get 4 people into the same place and play card games very easily.
Yeah. So, I read a stat recently. I can't remember the exact name or the exact number, but there was if you look at the amount and percentage of commanders that have been released in the past year, or it might have been 2 years, but it's something like 25% of all legendary creatures have been printed within the past year or two. It may be a little higher. What's your initial take on that? Is that a good thing, or do you think that's not necessarily a good thing?
I mean, I like art within limitations. As somebody who's always scrabbled together something to make it functional, I thought that was cool. I remember when Prime Speaker Vanifar came out, we thought, well, everybody's just going to play this deck and it's going to be a linear deck, or it's going to be a really boring format now. But nobody plays that.
That was a lie.
No.
Yeah. Like nobody cares about that type of thing. Like if you present somebody with a boring linear experience, they're not going to choose that. So I still feel like we see a lot more interesting decks nowadays and less duds, because people have an opportunity. Like what most people want in Commander, I'm convinced, is to be a hipster. They want to play a card that you've never heard of. One of our staff members, Rachel Weeks, she's so guilty of like, I love this card that no one's ever heard of.
It's either that or be super competitive.
It's
either cards no one knows about or super competitive.
And back in the day, we used to be like, okay, well, I want to play cards that no one knows about. I'll pick a commander no one knows about. I'll pick one from Legends no one knows about. And you're picking this terrible 7-drop with a bad tap ability and a questionable power toughness to be hipster. There's a lot better ways to be hipster now. And competitive back then, the CEDH scene was not as embraced as it is today. It was they called it an alternative play style back in the day. No, this is normal. People like playing this way, and there's a bunch of great content creators like Spike Feeders and Playing with Power that have led the charge on that. But now everybody has a way to do what it is they're trying to do. You can play with whatever type of group you want to play with over Spell Table or play EDH or whatever. Like the amount of choice that's available to you, it leads to annoying discourse about what's right and wrong in Commander. But my trick with Commander is if I don't like the format, I lose your phone number. That's it. Like, all you got to do is just stop inviting that character. No issue.
You're not wrong. You talked about Prime Speaker Vanifar. I remember when she got spoiled, and I initially was so excited to play her. Never once built a deck. Tried and just I'm like, yeah, no, this is just boring, and I'm gonna move on to something else.
People are going crazy in other like constructed formats with her. Yep. And like they were making something for her, I think in Modern, I don't remember if Legacy or not, to where it's just like a turn 3 win. But it's like there are other decks that do that just faster, especially in Legacy.
Right.
So it's like, all right, you can't really compete, even though it's so broken.
Right. So, so we just talked about Magic. You know, we've talked about quite a few other games so far. But Jake, I want to ask you, for you, when it comes to a game in general, but you know, we're really focusing heavily here into card games. But you know, when we look at card games in general, there's normally 2 camps. You've got the people who look at more so the gameplay and the mechanics, and then you have other people who tend to look more at the lore or the artwork. What aspect, excuse me, would pull you into a game more, the gameplay mechanic side or the lore side?
Well, Digimon is a pretty good example of this, where I'm pulled in definitely by the IP, the artwork, and the graphic design of the borders and stuff like that. Like, I can't do Flesh and Blood because the border doesn't look right to me. So
really,
yeah, I mean, the exterior of the building kind of matters, but once you get inside, it's all held up by how good is the game. Is this something that you can actually get good at and be rewarded by, you know, practice? Or am I just always going to have about the same chance? Like, there have been a bunch of, let's say, mini card games released by companies like FFG, or I think we're all nervous that Lorcana is going to turn out to be one of these games where it's like, I mean, it's collectible. It's, you know, but the game is very thin. Like that isn't going to keep somebody interested for 30 years. Whereas we're still talking about cards today. Like, you know what we're still talking about is Lightning Bolt viable in our format now?
Yes. Yes,
Are you kidding me? Lightning Bolt is a topic of discussion.
Yeah.
It's always viable.
Yeah. But
I love Lightning Bolt now.
But honestly, when was Lightning Bolt first printed? 93?
93, yeah.
Alpha.
Yeah, about a week before I got onto the scene. I was born August 13th, 1993.
Wow. Isn't that crazy, Jake? Isn't that crazy to think about?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not ready to turn 30. Could you imagine being 30? What a nightmare.
Yeah. That's going to happen soon. I was born,
some people go through that.
I was born May 3rd, 93. So I'm a little older than Magic.
Oh, my God.
I hate both of you right now.
Dan's like, I'm a lot older than Magic.
Shout out to all the 30 pluses out there.
Yeah, right. All right. So you just touched on Digimon a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think we've talked a little bit about DigiBoss Battle. Can you explain what DigiBoss Battle is and why did you start that?
It's awesome.
So
it is awesome. I agree.
My issue with gameplay is axioms, just things that people accept as like, yeah, this is the way you do it. And, you know, like earlier in Magic content, we would see a lot of people do things like game nights because, well, that's how you do it. You know, you have an interview. Or, you know, there's no need for a lot of that. Like as content matures, people stop doing the same thing as one another, and they find their own thing. I saw a lot of the same content in Digimon that was just like people focused on the wrong stuff, and they would put cards on screen, but not long enough for anybody to actually read. Like,
yes.
I always say when we're reviewing an edit of game nights, like, how many times do you want somebody to watch this? Is it once? Is it twice? Do you want them to skip back to catch what you just said? Are you throwing this up there for them to read it? Because they can't read it. Like, our goal should be for them to only watch it once in real time and still get everything that they're trying to get. So, like, Digimon didn't understand that. And so what I did was I don't want it to be, okay, I will draw my card for turn. I'll play this. And then I'll do this, which is going to give me that. And then I'll pass to you. Like,
Digivolve too.
I want the character. This is like, you know, the people who are here are anime nerds. Let's give them that. You know, like a lot of these people are coming from Yu-Gi-Oh! I bet they've seen the Yu-Gi-Oh! Show. So let's act like that, you know?
Yeah.
So like I'm even like doing an impression of, you know, Weevil Underwood in one of our episodes. It's just so much more fun that way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You hit it. You hit the nail on the head because you were just talking about what's expected, right? And in a lot of our videos, kind of the reason I started doing a lot of this is I wanted to make a lot of gameplay videos, and one thing I've been thinking about for a while is trying to tell a story and like what I want to do differently because we see a lot of gameplay content and everyone's doing something very similar, but in their own way. But I'm like, okay, well, how can I make this different? And like, what are some good ideas? And it's something I still continue to struggle with. And I'm still currently searching for that idea for us. But I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. And I love what you've done with DigiBoss Battle. I think every time I start it, I'm like, I can't stop watching it and just want to see how the entire story folds out. I think you both do a phenomenal job with that.
My trick with the opening of the show is it's always a flex. Like, I've been practicing my 3D stuff, and I just want to show people like, hey, the thing that you normally see gameplay as, like, who throws up a little disclaimer at the top that's like, the following is based on true events. Who needs to say that about their gameplay content?
Right.
Like, I just love telling people, no, this really happened.
Right.
And then, messing with like digivices and slowly getting better at that stuff to be like, hey, this is, somebody cared about this when they made it. Somebody put a lot of love into this, so pay attention.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things I was just talking with Jim about this. I was talking about the interview. Like, yeah, we need to start doing interviews for this gameplay. You really don't have to do that. Just because someone else does it and they do it well, you don't have to incorporate that into your content. I initially felt kind of compelled to go that route because, like you were talking about, there's people who expect it. Well, you don't have to do what's expected, right? Do something because you love to do it, or you have this good idea and kind of go that route.
And we know that people like meme on us. Like, we know, like, we did an April Fool's joke called Josh Nights. And it was, 4 Joshes playing game nights against each other.
Yes.
And then Josh casts Ristic Study, and Josh says, wow, so this is a really big deal because now Josh is going to be drawing every single turn. We're like red circling the entire card.
Yeah,
right. Like, we know that people think this about us, and people will say stuff like they animate every single basic land, or wow, Soul Ring is really big deal here because they're going to have so much mana going into the next few turns. I'm really going to have to keep an eye on that. Soul Ring's good now, and it's going to be good later too. Whenever there's an interview, just for a second, consider, is somebody trying to read this card? Do maybe we want to just give a little bit of time for people to reflect? Like, we put a Sakura Tribe Elder interview in the last show. So somebody plays Sakura Tribe Elder, and there's not much to talk about. It's going to get you a land. So I don't care about, don't talk to me about this card. Okay. What's the score right now? What's everybody's board state? What's this going to do to the board? Or let's say somebody plays 2 mana rocks and passes. Okay, well, I wish I could be doing a whole lot more on my turn because I'm pretty concerned about Jimmy. I don't know how necessarily to deal with his board, so I'm looking at the other 2 because I don't have anything. They're not talking about how, this signet here, I had 2 mana, but I have to filter 1 through it, so it's a little tricky. Like, we're not saying stuff like that.
Right.
Like, everything has a purpose, and nobody really considers, like, we're trying to be courteous to the viewer and let them read if they want to read.
Yeah. Was that kind of the genesis of Extra Turns a little bit?
Extra Turns, it just came from, like, let's try reinventing it from the ground up, and let's see what happens. And it developed a life of its own, and it's kind of for the more, it's like Game Night's Pro. It's like less flashy and stuff, but it's more meat and potatoes, get out of the way. Just
that's exactly how I feel. I agree. Yeah. And it's kind of like Game Night's upgraded a little bit, like for the more hardcore audience, if you will. And I think both. Right. Like both shows have their strengths and weaknesses. And I remember when you guys started doing more extra turns, I was like, okay, this is great. I love me more extra turns. I mean, I love the game night show, but I find myself rewatching extra turns episodes more than I do game nights, and that might be just because I'm much more into card games than others, but I'm not totally sure there.
People don't realize like that show is pretty hard to shoot. Like if they think to themselves,
are,
"Oh, I want to do a gameplay series, and I'm going to go extra turns level," like still, you don't like just play a bunch of stuff. Like you have to make it possible for people to change the timing of everything. Like all of our overhead cameras are usually running. Like we're using clips of this here, and we'll have you say it later. So like, let's say I'm going to play an Evolving Wilds and then go get an island for it. So what I'll need to do is I'll just drop the Evolving Wilds, and then I'll pull the Evolving Wilds off the board. Now I need to Indiana Jones grab my deck. Super careful. And got it. One shot. Perfect. All right, let me just go find this island. Everybody take a pee break if you need. Go. Got it. And then I'll put the deck back, put the island out, Evolving Wilds in the graveyard. Okay. And like I know all the steps to it. However, a lot of the guests don't. So we have to tell them like, all right, now do this. Now do this. Now do this. Great. We got all the visuals. Now just say this. I will play my I'm going to play Evolving Wilds for turn, but I'm going to immediately crack it. I'll get an island, and then I'll come into play tapped. Mm-hmm. And we've just got like recipes for every single game action. Like let's say somebody wants to scry. If they just go like this, and they look at it on the overhead, and they're looking at it, and put it back. Now I can't cut any time out of that. So like I'm going to play a Temple of Epiphany, and I'm going to get to scry 1. So I will leave that on top, and then I will pass the turn to you. Like that's really fast to have this like card just hanging out there as I'm thinking about it and everything. You totally limit everything I can do. But if you say I'm going to play Temple of Epiphany, so I'll scry 1, pull it completely off the table, then we can make our decisions, then put it back. I can cut all the meat out of that time and just have the actions. Like our extra turn shoots can be upwards of 4 or 5 hours, yet it comes out to a half an hour of runtime.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's one thing that I've learned in doing a lot of our gameplay videos is I've learned just in watching the footage and editing stuff, seeing it for me, like, because I see the visuals and I'm like, okay, next time I know how this is going to look. And then I just I do a lot of shortcuts and then just do dissolves, right? But I take everything I learned, then we go into the next video, maybe even a different game, right? But then I'm like, okay, knowing this, we talk about, okay, here's what we're going to do. And then that's a fun experience for me because, again, it's
a can of worms. Recently, I've been focusing on let's do less of the shooting tricks. So let's say somebody plays a Jessica's Will, okay, on game nights. They'll put the Jessica's Will on their board and go back. Mm-hmm. Now we'll fly that card up. And so you fill that spot where the card is with an image of the masked board where it's just only that little spot, right? So you fill in the hole. But now when I reveal the top 3 cards in my library, I'm probably going to cross over where that Jessica's Will was. And suddenly my patch of that hole in the board, I'm going to have to roto that. So a trick we figured out was I'll play the Jessica's Will. And then we know that if we're going to be like revealing stuff or manipulating the top of the deck or drawing cards or something, pull the Jessica's Will physically off the board at the shoot. Then you reveal, and you don't need to roto because it's physically gone. You're not freezing it and holding it or anything like that. But we figured out all these little tricks, and at a certain point, enough is enough. Like if you have a little method for how to do everything, it slows your shoot down a big amount, and it ruins the vibe. You know, like this is about people, okay? And if you lose their patience, like who's gonna have fun watching your show?
Right. Yeah. You saying that reminded me, like, I've learned a lot in just editing and just shooting the content. You're not going to learn anything by just not doing it. You're gonna learn everything as you make stuff, make content, create it,
make stuff.
it, and then exactly. Make bad stuff to make better stuff, and then make better and better and better stuff.
I think like Napoleon or something, Josh said this recently, was like quantity is a quality all its own, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
You guys, what number episode is this?
77.
You guys are crazy. That is so hard. Come on, being that consistent on anything is so hard.
Yeah,
like
you're right.
I'm looking at
your
your site right now. You guys look like Steven and Zach. You know,
we're getting there. We're getting there actually. All right. Before we get there, you talked about Lorcana. I want to touch on Lorcana for a minute. Okay, you did a video talking about Lorcana. You gave your thoughts. We did a video very similar. What's your initial take on Lorcana? I mean, we don't know anything right now. I loved your video. You went through a little bit of the editing stuff and then the templating. I loved what you had to say. What's your initial take? What's your initial take on Lorcana? Where do you think that's going to go?
My take on the community is probably where I have stronger opinions, where it's frustrating for me to see a bunch of people who are being opportunistic about it. Like, there's podcasts about Lorcana and stuff, and like, you know, God bless you guys. You're out there. You know, you're doing your thing. But what are you talking about?
It's not even a game yet. It's not even a game.
What is there to talk about? And, you know, my fiance used to say that about the Star Wars podcast I listened to. She's like, don't they ever run out of stuff to talk about? And I'm like, yeah, maybe in the early days, but then Disney bought it. You know,
I felt like right now I've been the pessimistic one because I'm in the Lorcana community,
sure,
and I enjoy interacting with a lot of people, but I'm constantly trying to tell people, I'm like, guys, how can you say that you love Lorcana when we literally don't know anything. Okay, we know 7 cards. We don't know how any of them work.
Yeah.
We know them out of context. We don't know how anything works. Bless you if you're a Disney fan person. I have a lot of people like that in my family. I get it. I'm on board. I'm with you. But some of the things that some folks are saying, I'm just like, I love you. But I just can't get there with you. I'm trying to like pull people in a little bit.
More like, I love you, but you're acting like a nut. Like, this is a little much, don't you think? I hate to be blunt, but like, come on. Like, I think just like I said about my conversations with the professor at first, like, be a peer, you know, don't be a weirdo. Like, just cool out and be somebody that they want to work with rather than, we'd love to showcase it to all of my viewers. You know, I have 3,000 subscribers. Like, nobody ain't nobody in this community. If you just make good stuff for it. Like, I think my Lorcana video is probably my highest viewed video on my channel, which is weird because I spent an hour and a half on it. Like, I put 40 hours into another video and Lorcana is the biggest one. But people just like, I respect shooting your shot, but at the same time, what shot are you shooting?
Right, exactly. And that's where like we've shot a few Lorcana videos, and I've shot some separately.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some more too, even before new info comes out. So like respect, but also like cool it on the at Disney Lorcana Twitter maybe.
Well, like for me, like I've honestly had some dilemmas because I'm like it's card games plus Disney, and you know, Jim and we've talked about this. Like, that's kind of I feel like that's my home, so I'm very excited about it. But I'm also like
every other week. I'm with you.
But I have this dilemma because I'm like, I'm very excited. I don't want to be let down. I see others that are very excited. I don't want them to be let down either. And so the best way I know how to for people not to let down is let's lower expectations, let's bring people down, and then just let's cool it a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
Just focus on who's making it. I think that's the most important part. Like context. Like, this is Ravensburger. They make puzzles. They make some board games. Like, but the team that they've hired seems like a good team. You know, and this is them shooting their shot. Like, they're spending. I don't know anything, but they're probably spending a little bit too much on the IP. They're not going to make a ton of money, but they're hoping to make it up in volume. And a responsible business person would hire the right people. You know, it's an old company too, so they probably another way around it, right?
Yeah.
A consumer's got to assume.
Well, and there's been a lot of people talking about like Disney's involvement, and I'm curious as to your take on this. But what I've said is, I'm like, guys, I don't think Disney is involved at all. The only way they're involved is that they're making sure Ravensburger protects their brand, and they showcase it in a way they want it to be showcased as. They're not focusing on gameplay. They're not going to be focusing on OP. They're not going to be focusing on anything. That's what I think. But there's folks within the community who are like, oh, I would love to see Nationals be hosted at Disney World. I'm like, that's not going to happen. Like, I don't think Disney is going to put any money into it. They're just concerned about how much they're going to be able to make off.
I think the only way that happens is if the game is just huge and Disney's like, all right, let's make something crazy for it.
That's a great point. Is like, this could be a really volatile experience for a lot of people. If it becomes something that's worth Disney paying attention to, then the game could change. But I would look at it like this. So the Imperial Raider, are you familiar with this ship?
No,
it's an Empire ship. It was added into the canon around 2015, I believe. But Lucasfilm, like what's it called? Star Wars Battlefront 2, the newer one.
The new one,
yeah, that takes place on a Raider. But that ship was created specifically for X-Wing in Fantasy Flight Games. Worked with Lucasfilm to create this ship, and now here it is in their flagship game. It's all over Star Wars Squadrons. Like, this is an accepted canon ship. So it's like, X-Wing was not like a huge moneymaker, yet here they are kind of collaborating together. Like, they felt that it was important enough to do such a thing. There might be healthy collaboration, or I'm more inclined to believe that it's either going to be not that much at all, or so overbearing that you can't do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Which is basically me making no point at all. Let me just make both points.
And admittedly, like, I don't have a lot of experience in the space or business knowledge to know kind of the ins and outs. But that's just kind of some interesting takes. So, okay. All right. Zach and Steven, Team Covenant.
Oh, yeah. I met them in Vegas this summer. They're the coolest.
I saw that photo. So we had Steven on the podcast last year.
That was so much fun.
That was so much fun. I actually sent him an email today. I'm currently trying to get a hold of Zach, which Zach, open your DMs, man. Anyway, I remember I was watching one of their streams. Okay. First of all, I think you're right there with me when I say I respect the heck out of Zach and Steven, what they've built as a company.
Yeah.
And I think they've done an amazing job.
Zach recently did a thread on Twitter that explained the entire history of their company. And I think anybody who's working on something that you plan on it being long-term, it's responsible of you to read where he's been with this whole thing. Like, he even is open about like, hey, my life kind of fell apart at this point. Mm-hmm. Here's how we recovered. Hey, they confronted me with some harsh truths at the company and really stopped me in my tracks. And it's just a nice, vulnerable, important thing for a lot of us to hear.
Yeah. I recommend any one of you watching this, go read that tweet thread. A lot of great lessons over the course of 16 years of him and his company. But anyway, I was in one of their streams, and I saw you popped into the stream, and you were in the chat, and so I'm like, wait, Jake Boss watches Team Covenant? He's a fan. So can you talk about how did you get turned on to Zach and Steven, and how did you get turned on to their content initially?
Yeah, sure. So initially, I was listening to a Star Wars gaming podcast called The Sabacc Table, and I was just diving through this channel called The Forcecast, trying to find more Star Wars stuff to listen to. So the Sabacc Table was one of their shows. They talked about X-Wing, and I was like, that old computer game? And then, I looked into it. It's a tabletop game. I'd never played tabletop. I go to a local game store, check it out. And I told my brother, all right, you can't tell my girlfriend, but I'm going to spend $40 on this box. Okay? I promise I'm not going to spend more. I'm not going to be one of those freaks that dives deep into this hobby, but I'm going to spend this $40. It'll be fine. So we go home, we play the game. It's so much fun. And then I'm researching ships, And this was about when Wave 4 came out for X-Wing. So the TIE Defender review for Team Covenant, I think, was my first video. And then from there, I was watching more and more of their videos because I was more obsessed with their content than I was the game at a lot of points. And, I got pretty good at the game. I loved it. But then I got into the Star Wars LCG because of their videos. And they would do these roundtable reviews of every Force pack kit that came out. And, come to find out through that tweet thread that was too much for them to handle. And it was a lot. But there's a really funny one where Steven is looking at a piece of art and he's like, wow, whoever FFG is hiring to do this art is amazing. Ralph McQuarrie, whoever you are, you're awesome. And he's like the original concept designer for Star Wars, A New Hope, Ralph McQuarrie. So, if you ever see Steven, tell him I said something about his favorite artist, Ralph McQuarrie.
I'll have to bring that up with them.
Sure.
That is funny.
I'm not going to lie, though. I probably would have messed that up, too.
It's so funny.
I definitely didn't know that.
Like, he got caught admiring one of the greatest Star Wars artists ever.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good thing to have a mental fumble on.
Jake would have corrected me like I corrected Steven with the Black Lotus.
With the Black Lotus.
So he just would have done the same thing.
Yeah. That was oh my goodness. That was hilarious. But so for if anybody watches any of our content and see how we have our studio set up, if you watch Team Covenant videos, you might see a few similarities.
Yeah, the overhead truss. I bet you have an overhead truss, don't you?
So yes and no. I have it attached to my floorboards. I drilled through the ceiling because I wanted stuff off of the floor.
Very smart.
So when we started doing content, we had a lot of meetings and a lot of screenshots of Team Covenant and game nights. Those are the two stuff where we took a lot of inspirations from.
We love it when people steal from us. Honestly, this stuff is really hard. And if you like I say with $100,000 camera, if you want to steal some of the methods, go for it. This stuff is still really hard. So if you're out there and you're doing it, respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a quote. It says something about imitation is a sincere form of flattery, but then talking about theft is the best form of. I can't remember the exact.
I think good artists, something great artists steal.
Yeah. Good artist copy, great artist steal. Something like that. Yeah. So,
just like the camera conversation, being set up like Team Covenant ain't gonna make a Team Covenant. It's just like a format. It's a shape. So,
yep. And it helps. For me, it's just I'm very interested and love the visual aspect. I talked about photography, videography. That stuff interests me. I love it. And so that's the stuff that I focus on. And at times, admittedly, too much, right? I need to be pulled back a little bit.
I'll tell you this though. Hang on. So if you had an endless supply of chewing gum, you'd probably sell chewing gum. Is that right? If you have an endless supply of passion for video equipment and nerd stuff, you're going to make money off of it somehow, someday. That's going to be your golden goose because you got a ton of that shit in the back. Okay. The endless supply of chewing gum.
Most definitely. All right. So lastly, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to one of my favorite segments, and that is the card of the week. Jake has been so gracious.
Wait, do you have a jingle for card of the week?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you have a jingle for card of the week?
No, unfortunately, no, I do not.
You have to make one up right now.
Okay. Card of the week. That was weird. I like it.
We're card of the week. It's weird. I love it. That was great.
All right, Jake. Can you tell us what is this week's card of the week?
So this week's card of the week is a Digimon TCG card. It is Eosmon. I love this card. It's a lot like Rats for Digimon. It's got a play cost of 5. It's a level 5 with a Digimon power of 6,000. You can Digivolve for 3 onto a level 4 that's green or white. But a lot of the time, you're just going to be hard playing these because this card says you can include up to 50 copies with this card's card number in your deck. And when attacking, you may play one level 5 or lower Eosmon from your hand without paying its memory cost. So you're going to play a big swarm of Eosmons. Then it's got this fun little inheritable effect down at the bottom that says, on your turn, this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP. So let's say you put another Digimon card on top of this and make it a level 6. It's going to get that little plus 1000 buff. Yeah, they're basically mutate creatures. But the only thing that you inherit is that little box at the bottom.
Box at the bottom, yeah.
Right.
Holy cow.
So your Digimon can get really complicated. I tried to pick one that was, more accessible to understand. So you can sleeve up 50 copies of this card, and then whenever it attacks, drop out another one. It'll have summoning sickness, so you can't attack with it, on that turn. Yeah, but eventually you're going to keep multiplying and have a big swarm of Eosmons. And I feature it in an episode of DigiBoss Battle where I tried to go more moody, and I went as like a collective character that's like a hive mind. I tried to go more dramatic with that episode rather than comedy, and it was interesting results.
Okay. I don't think I've seen that one. I'll have to go back and check that one out for sure.
Yeah, it's all Eosmon.
Jim, you said when I showed this to you, you were like, I love this card.
I was like, wow. This instantly gave me Cranko vibes. I'm just like, okay, double my board.
Yeah.
Good. And also, before I even learned about this card, I kind of dabbled with Digimon stuff, but I'm a big fan of Diaboromon from the movie. And like when I found out he had a card in here and he would be making clones of himself, but then I saw this, I'm like, I just think this is better.
Diaboromon is probably the only deck in this game that creates tokens. I'm pretty sure. Just like in our war game, the movie, he makes a whole bunch of himself. Yep. And then in the sequel to the movie, he makes a big, I forget, I think it's Millennium Mon. I don't remember. But a huge version. A bunch of Diaboromon become a level 7.
Okay. So when I saw this card, the first thing I thought was Shadowborn Apostles and Rats. Yep. Because when I saw you can include up to 5, I'm like, does every card game have a card like this where you can include?
I'm sure that they do. I figured that would make other players of other card games at home is seeing something to relate to.
Yeah. So we played Digimon on the channel. We streamed this a while ago. That was the first time I had played Digimon.
Same.
That was the first time you played it too?
Yeah.
Jake, how did you initially get into Digimon? Did you just see the IP and it's a card game and you're like, I want to try it?
Man, I don't even remember. All I remember was when I looked into the Digimon TCG. Oh, no, I remember. My spell table friend Pope was like, hey, did you know that they're making another Digimon card game? And it just landed in the US. Then I watched a bunch of videos from my friend True Champion Steven. Very nice guy.
True Champion Steven. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't met in person yet, but I'm sure that'll happen in the next month or so. One of his buddies from his game store now works at the Command Zone. So it's a super small world.
Wow.
Wow.
But I just watched a bunch of his videos trying to understand like color identity and, find a way for me to be at home with this because I don't know about you guys, but I was a Digimon kid. Were you guys Digimon kids?
100%.
I was Pokemon. I never got into Digimon.
All right,
I don't know.
I'm going to ask you a total personal question. This is completely out of line. You ready?
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Are your parents together?
Yes.
Jim, are your parents together?
They aren't.
Yeah! I nailed it. Digimon is for people who need an added layer of escapism.
Hold on. All right. I love Pokemon too, though. Okay.
Well,
like I'll
tell you what that means after we get off this call.
All right. We'll talk about
that. Means something a lot more personal.
Oh, dude, that was hilarious. So, okay, I wasn't my parents. So I come from a very conservative background. So even Pokemon back then was like frowned upon.
The devil.
Yeah, the satanic panic.
Yeah. So Digimon was just like, just we're not even going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a great video by, I can't remember his name, but he's featured in a ton of documentaries. It's this terrible video from the 90s where this guy's talking about like, the game is called Magic the Gathering. See this vile, decaying thing? Looks, it's a game of the occult. How many know that the mind is a very fragile thing? And he talks about Pokemon in that too. Like, look at this terrible, ungodly, satanic thing. Like,
shows Pikachu.
It's so funny. And he's so cute with his little satanic tail.
We talked about Vampiric Tutor. No, not Vampiric Tutor. Demonic Tutor as one of the cards of the week a while ago, and I remember that card before I got into Magic because that was talked about in my communities with the pentagram on the forehead. I very vividly remember that.
It's talked about in my community as a very good card.
Right. So all right. So Eosmon is this week's card of the week. Jake, thank you so much for featuring this week's card of the week for us. And with that, we're gonna have to wrap up this episode. Jake, can you tell our audience where people can find you on the internet?
If you like Magic, watch Game Nights. That's where our heart and soul goes into. If you like Game Nights, check out Game Nights Live. That is a project I'm very heavily involved in. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into that one, and we're really proud of the things that we're doing with it. Taking Game Nights on the road as a stage show. Who knew? It's really fun.
Yeah.
And then my personal stuff is DigiBoss Battle. I'm having a lot of fun with that show and trying new things. I'm trying to make deck techs look prettier,
Yeah.
Needs to be some innovation there. And I'm having fun.
Yep. Agreed. All right. Well, Game Nights Live is another thing that we unfortunately never got to talk on. But if we could, honestly, I feel like we could just keep talking for hours upon hours.
We'll have to talk another time.
Absolutely. So, all right, Jake, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the podcast. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that was a lot of fun.
Holy cow.
Dude, that was crazy. When we finished that talk, I remember I said to you, I'm like, dude, that was absolutely insane. That was so much fun, crazy.
That guy has so much knowledge up in his brain. It's ridiculous. When he's talking to him, you find that out real quickly.
When he started talking about H.264, I'm like, all right, we're going to go there. Okay. So it's nice to talk nerd things with a fellow nerd, right? Yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that conversation. We had a lot of fun. But before we get out of here, Jim, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Jim Morgan HNH.
You guys can find me on Twitter at _DJ Campbell and on Instagram at Daniel.G.Campbell. If you head over to our website, www.hobbiesandhappiness, you can find links to all of our social platforms there. We're probably most active on Twitter, which is at Hobbies and Happy. That's kind of like the prominent social platform that we're posting to now. I'm trying to get more back into Instagram and Facebook as well. But again, if you head over to the website, you can find links to everything there. Again, hopefully you all enjoyed today's episode. This was a lot of fun, and I'm excited for this year about having more and more guests on the show. The format I plan to do is kind of alternate. Every other show would like to get a guest on the show, and then alternate on those off weeks. We'll just talk about a topic here on our own. So,
and eventually, by the end of the year, we're gonna have the president on. All right, we're not. We're
the
probably
president of what?
I don't know.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for being here, and we'll catch you in the next episode. See you, everybody.
Take care.